conference and how to buy a sailboat as
It looks like shit. Come on.
What's wrong?
What happened?
All the sex and violence on the screen has gone too far for me.
What happened?
I'm fed up with it. Filmmakers like George Romero and John Carpenter have to show some restraint.
What happened?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
For the second season of the Thing series, I thought it would be cool to have it be based on the sequel comic Climate of Fear from Dark Horse Comics, but rewritten to fit into our new canon, much like the last season was based on questionable research and the second issue of The Thing from Another World. And like I said before, we'll basically take elements of that story without the addition of McCready and Childs. Ugh. We'd also be setting up storylines for the next season, obviously. And the next season would be Return of the Thing, blending the timelines together yet again. Speaking of Return of the Thing, we open on an excavation operation being led by a character from that script. The Thing is recovered from the wreckage of the sub from season 1, kind of like The Abyss meets Titanic. Very Lovecraft. It's been a few years now, so Blair's timeline has been delayed, but not stopped, and it's about to begin again. Like I mentioned before, this excavation project is being led by a character from the Return of the Thing script, who in this canon I've written to be a former student of the Botine family seen in the Cold War video, who just wants to get to the bottom of what happened to his mentor and friend. This character's name is Dr. Yuri Lukanov. The Russians, as well as the Argentine military, come to an agreement to have the organism sample studied in a remote, walled-off base. The base is in Tierra del Fuego, South America. The idea of moving the organism to a more crowded environment is worrisome to the crew, but Dr. Lukanov is bankrolling the entire operation, and this has been eating at his mind for years, and with his new place in power, he becomes like the Loomis of this series, chasing the shape, the evil. This season will be very much like Day of the Dead in tone, and our main character would be a sergeant on the military base in Tierra del Fuego named Agapito Quintana, who I could definitely see played by Danny Trejo. Agapito is another brash, no-nonsense type that could play the Thing in its deadly game.
I should have killed you sooner!
Our secondary protagonist of the season, our Childs if you will, would be a Dr. Sabia Viale, played by Genesis Rodriguez, who you may remember from Tusk. On the more antagonistic side, there's the wormy Dr. Desiato. Comment below which actor you could possibly see him played by. He's a side character and a red herring who uses the suspicions against him to his advantage. He's inconsiderate and he's always poking at the sleeping bear. There's also the paranoia-prone private named Nybe. Nice alliteration there. He's a hypochondriac and he suspects that he may be infected. He's one of the first to crack under the pressure. Our very own Windows, if you will.
You're gonna let him give the orders? I mean, he could be one of those things!
As the infection progresses throughout the base, they take to splitting the groups up into curfews and night guard shifts, and they're not allowed to leave their quarters until daylight. With Nybe being a known insomniac, this makes him a perfect candidate for being a regular guard. One night after things have gotten worse and tensions have grown higher, he takes advantage of that time and he climbs up to the top of a tree, dousing himself in gasoline and setting the tree ablaze. Like I mentioned before, he always suspected that he was infected, and although it's heavily implied that he's just psyching himself out, this seems like a better way out to him, instead of being a deserter. The men and women of the camp have become like rats in a maze, with Lukanov watching over and working towards keeping the organism contained. He's an antagonistic figure for sure, but not a mustache-twirling villain. His actions here will have repercussions for the next season, and it'll tie into that Jen Inc. issue I mentioned before. For now though, he's helpless in witnessing this organism he has no concept on how to control, or if he even can. As more and more of the crew succumb to the infection, Viale and Agapito have to learn to trust each other and work together to stave off the infection. In most horror movies, this would be an excuse to set Agapito and Viale up as a relationship, but in this case, I kind of want to establish a brother-sister kind of dynamic between them. Agapito coming to appreciate Viale's quick wits and thinking, and Viale appreciating Agapito's boldness and will to survive. Even after being cornered by a bunch of infected crewmates and losing an arm to the infection. Thankfully, it doesn't spread to the rest of his body, and this goes back to that Day of the Dead comparison I made, if you think about it. The reason why this location was used is revealed. It's actually a military air base that's been out of use for many years. Seemingly the only two humans left, with the exception of Lukanov watching remotely, Viale and Agapito take to an air hangar, with it already being inhabited by some thingy friends of ours. Pulling a grand-scale Blair method and building a new and improved spacecraft out of all the parts in there. With no other choice left, they light the hangar up. You'd think this would be the end, but you'd be wrong. All the surviving things inside coagulate and form into a giant kaiju thing. But instead of being a big CG glob, I imagine this creature being brought to life through a mixture of puppeteering, animatronics, wirework, stop motion, hell, even Toho-style suitmation. The massive thing breaks through the barrier of the walled-off base and makes its way into the wild jungle, seemingly infecting everything in its path. This forces Lukanov's hand to not only be less secretive about his project, but to also call in a napalm airstrike. Viale and Agapito try to run to any semblance of safety, but there's none to be found, and even with a bandage, Agapito is losing blood fast and is noticeably pale. With the massive thing targeting them, they're cornered. It's not until the napalm hits that they're saved. Or are they? Well, at least from the organism. Agapito goes woozy and faints by a nearby tree, with the giant thing snarling and staring them down. Sabia stands off with the beast, ready for death. Another Predator-style moment. But the moment is cut short when the bombs drop, and everything in the vicinity is incinerated. Black smoke surrounds the jungle in a spreading forest fire, and there's an eerie stillness to the scene. This weighs heavy on Lukanov's mind. Not only did he send these men and women to their deaths, but an incomprehensible, intergalactic one at that. Perhaps, he thinks, they considered the fire mercy, an utterly bleak way of reassurance.
What do you think of these guys, the Centaurs?
They remind me of Basket Case. Mixed with the thing.
With these fucking movie references, everything gonna be like, that's like this movie.
Well, don't you think that's what the designers were like too? Like, we want something.
Wait a minute. Yes.
Like this, and
right.
A little mix of that. Yeah.
This is like a little bit of the thing and a little bit of
Fuck you too. Fuck you. You fuck too. Fuck you too.
Anybody not wearing 2 million sunblock is gonna have a real bad day. Get it? God, you think you're safe and alive? You're already dead. Everybody. Him, you're dead already. This whole place, everything you see is gone. You're the one living in a fucking dream, Solomon, because I know it happens. It happens.
This is it. The big one. The midpoint that'll affect the rest of the series. Darabont and McGoldrick, let's make you guys proud.
You made your daddy proud.
You're gonna be so proud.
Proud?
Proud.
Before we get into it, I don't want to keep this going any longer. This is why I don't like the Gen Inc. aspect of the Thing video game, and it'll tie into what's going on here. I just think it's lame that the Thing was actually tamed and modified by a corporation, Alien style. And to have the evil government want to use it as a weapon is just asinine. I don't know how else to explain it.
I think it's fucking stock. Which part of that is unclear to you?
I think it sounds stock to my ears.
Well, I guess I'll explain it like this. The problem isn't necessarily characters considering using it as a weapon, especially if they're misinformed people like some of the characters we'll see throughout this season, but the thing is not a xenomorph in a sense where it has the potential to be weaponized. It should be the other way around. It weaponizes us.
We made you! Didn't you understand?
Want to know?
You can't do this! We made you!
I may or may not have a sequel idea for Maximum Overdrive as well. The thing cannot be contained. Once released, the cat's out of the bag. Pandora's box is open, and although Blair's timeline could be delayed a few years each time due to circumstances of our main characters, I feel that smart characters would also come to a smart conclusion as well, which only makes when the thing does win or outsmart them even more terrifying.
Now, the future's set in stone. Judgment Day is inevitable.
Where that line kind of fails in the Terminator series, it's super fitting here. And again, we're in the same universe as they live. So those themes of critiquing the government and analyzing social culture are still heavily there, but we could write it where it plays into the deceit and paranoia in a way where they're not mustache-twirling villains like I mentioned with Lukinov, but still very powerful people who play the game, especially now that the ones who would be the mustache-twirling villains get defeated. We catch up with Lukinov's story. He's been shunned and blacklisted from the Russian government and is laying low. His wife, Alina, has been arrested and questioned. His project is put on ice, both metaphorically and literally. He's kept in the dark about any samples that might have been taken from Tierra del Fuego, but he knows there are some. He has associates who spy for him and give him the inside scoop on what's been going on in the labs, as well as the condition of his wife, which obviously isn't good. The lab holding the thing samples is broken into by terrorists, and Lukinov's spies are killed. The terrorists believe that what they're collecting is a weaponized form of smallpox. When Lukinov doesn't hear back from his men, he risks his own safety to investigate what went down at the lab. By the time he gets there, though, it's far too late. The terrorists are gone, and soon one of them, named Ivan Vitsenko, is about to be airborne. While flying over the west coast of the United States, Vitsenko begins to shudder and seize. The passengers and staff believe him to be having a heart attack. They bring out the defibrillator, rip open his shirt, and begin shocking his chest. From there, we all know what happens next. In a moment of earned fan service after all these seasons, we have a recreation of Norris's chest burst. The plane breaks out into pandemonium before crashing into the New Mexico desert, not unlike the way the UFO crashed into Antarctica at the beginning of the original movie. Another reason why this moment of fan service is earned is because it'll play into later moments of the season. Electricity is going to be a vital part in fighting the thing this time around. The plane crash occurs a few miles outside of a small town called Christmas, which only has a population of a couple hundred. The initial impact is witnessed by but one man, a Navajo man in his 40s, living peacefully and alone on his understated ranch. This character's name is Frank Littlebear. Frank. Nice name. Exterior. Crash site. Dawn. Camera moves slowly through the flaming wreckage, past the debris field of the low hillock where a starving coyote appears. It looks around, sniffs the acrid air, and decides to investigate. The coyote tentatively pokes around the edges of the crash site, shying away from the crackling fires. It finds a smashed galley cart and hungrily laps up the food that's strewn around it.
Then, something else grabs its attention.
An unearthly rattling chirp coming from underneath a piece of metal wreckage. It's dark under there, but we could just make out a charred, fleshy mass glistening in the light of the fires. Little Bear sees the coyote enter the hole, and when it comes out, its behavior is noticeably different. They make eye contact with each other before it runs out into the desert. Whatever was on that plane, Frank Littlebear deems it to be a skinwalker. Of course, the plane crash draws the attention of local police, which gives us a chance to be introduced to a character named Sheriff Hayes, as well as a trucker named Rafferty, who's a classic mustached good old boy. This season will balance more character arcs than we've ever seen in a Thing story before. And I'm incredibly impressed with McGoldrick's ability to have done that within a 2-script format. Because keep in mind, this was originally written as just a 2-part miniseries. So there's actually an advantage to having this be a seasons-long storyline. It gives us more time to flesh out the townsfolk, gives us more time to spend on Lukinov's travels, and gives us more time to fully process that the end is nigh.
Some say the world will end by fire. Others say it will end by ice. Now, somewhere in the Antarctic, the question is being settled forever. John Carpenter's The Thing. Coming this summer from Universal Pictures.